I'm not sure how many journalists have truly learned about the way that Israel fights these wars, and it is actually very predictable how Israel fights these wars. That a lot of their strategies and tactics we've seen now across 4 Gaza conflicts. I mean, it's funny now, having watched 4 of these, I can actually tell when the conflict's heating up. I can tell when it's starting to cool down. I can tell when diplomacy is beginning to make headway. I mean, you can actually feel the sort of character of these wars if you watch them enough. And unfortunately, there have been plenty, right? Just the explanation of the target bank. Most people don't realize that most of these, bombs that Israel will drop on the Gaza Strip when these wars erupt. Now, this is not Israel responding out of anger. It's not. It is simply Israel executing attacks against targets that were predetermined months, sometimes years in advance. This is not off-the-cuff anger. It's not rage, which is often the way that it's described in the international press. And I think to understand that target bank phenomenon is incredibly important. The targeted nature of Israel's strikes, also incredibly important. They use PGMs, precision-guided munitions, with the idea of minimizing casualties as much as possible. It's actually remarkable. We've seen here in the United States a debate about whether the United States should continue to provide PGMs to the Israelis. That is essentially an argument for an uglier war with more casualties. And it just makes you wonder what our squad, the Hamas caucus, is really looking for when they advocate for that. And by the way, also advocate for Iron Dome to be depleted, right? Iron Dome, people say it saves Israeli lives. Okay, it undoubtedly has saved, thousands of Israeli lives. But one of the other things that is just, I don't think, widely appreciated is that because it provides with the Israelis the time and space to be able to deliberately decide what they want to do next, what it does is it cuts down on the rage of war. It actually makes it so that the Israelis are making largely, rational decisions during a conflict in which 4,000 projectiles are being launched at Israeli airspace. The idea that you can act strategically and surgically, and by the way, after 11 days of war with 4,000 rockets coming in from enemy territory and dropping twice or 3 times that on enemy targets in response, that there were only 200 casualties or 211 casualties, it is an astounding number. The precision with which Israel carries out these wars. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's not a tragedy that there were civilians that were killed. Of course, it's a tragedy. I'm not going to tell you that those 200 lives is not it's not a toll that's too high. We don't want to see any casualties, but I don't think that there is a good understanding of that precision nature of Israeli warfighting.